Well, welcome to Personal Growth Week. Erleene and I wanted to dedicate this week to giving back to other women. And we really got inspired last weekend with John Maxwell and Maxwell Leadership at Personal Growth Day. Twice a year, John Maxwell has an international Maxwell conference where we got to go to. We got to be invited and we learned so much. And after Erleene flew to Orlando from Boston, and after the event, I was just crying in my bed at 2 a.m. and she was like, why isn't everyone here? And I was like, you know what? We need to do some type of training because we know Papa John can be a little, he has some wisdom. He has some years under his belt. And I remember I was, taking notes with one of my business partners once, and I just thought the training was so good. And I turned around and my friend fell asleep. And I was like, I think God picked me and Erleene to be the voice of John Maxwell to the women of our generation. So I'm so excited to dedicate this week to helping you guys grow the way that we got to grow this past weekend in Orlando. It really was so life-changing. Erleene, could you say the same?
100%. I am still trying to catch up to last week. It's something that I can feel myself moving differently. I can see myself even in my daily interactions really being very intentional. And it was something that really just touched me more than any other business meeting or conference that I have ever been into. So each and every one of you needs to be in a space and in a room like that because it was really something more than business. I feel like it was soul work. So I think you can agree and say the same, Kat.
Yeah, so if you're ready for some soul work, type soul in the chat and we are going to get this kicked off because I'm all about helping people just feel fulfilled in their soul. And that's why I started network marketing. That's why I got into Monate. That's why I fell in love with Monate. And that's how I found leadership. And when I first started my online business in direct sales about 4 years ago, I reached a lot of success very quickly in my first 2 years. I hit the top of the company, and the top of the company in Monate, it's $800,000 in sales in just 1 month. So in my first 2 years, I was like, wow, this is great. What a great business. I started reaching success. I hit a few roadblocks. I got back up, reached the top of the company. And then my imposter syndrome started to kick in when I thought it would be like the best, moments and the best success of my life. And I started to think to myself, like, was that just beginner's luck? Am I going to be able to do that again? Was that just something that happened in the beginning? Like, I'm way in over my head right now. Like I tell people I can take over the world. I'm going to be a millionaire. I feel like I am way in over my head. And if you can resonate with me, have any of you ever felt like you have been way in over your head before? Because that's how I started to feel. I started to ask myself, am I even a good leader? Like, I joined Monate because I thought I was going to put in a discount code in my bio, try my shampoo, Cat from Kauai, 20% off, have a good day, collect my paycheck. I didn't realize people were going to join my team and ask me to help them become successful. I was like, wait, there's like 7 people that are asking me how to do their business. Like, I thought I was just getting a discount code. How did I even get here? And am I going to be able to keep this going? People are relying on me to help them get cars and earn trips and earn paychecks. Can I do this? Am I a good leader? And this past week, Erleene and I, we got to, hear from really amazing leaders, but we want to kick off Personal Growth Week with a story from a woman named Liz Bohannon. And she said something that made me think about this moment for me, my beginner's luck, my imposter syndrome, is this even working? And she said, and Liz is, this lady has an amazing story. She is the founder and the CEO of a very socially conscious fashion brand named Seiko Designs. She actually went on Shark Tank and then got denied on Shark Tank. She runs Seiko, but she's also a very accomplished speaker, and she's the author of a very great book called Beginner's Pluck. She has this amazing podcast, and screenshot this, download it later. But she said something that really resonated with me. She said, maybe my younger self didn't succeed despite of my lack of experience and lack of connections and lack of expertise, but maybe that's why I succeeded in the first place. And that made me think back to when I first got started. I was ignorance on bliss. Like, I'm going to be a millionaire. I'm going to earn a car. Like Jacqueline Ortega told me I was going to be in the $1 million club and earn $1 million. So I'm going to go and I'm going to do it. And I believe it. I had no experience. I had no connections. I just had that, what we call beginner's pluck. And if you guys are like, what the heck is Kat talking about? Pluck is a word that we don't use enough, and it means spirited and determined courage. It's a noun that describes that spirited and determined courage that we get when we first get started with something, when we first come up with that idea. Have any of you felt beginners of pluck before? Have you ever felt that determined courage and that determined spirit when you're first getting started with something? That's what your success has everything to do with. And I started to think, you know what? This woman has a point. I started to think about the spirit that I had when I first started my business. I started to think about the mindset and the mentality that I had in the beginning days of my business, and what I thought about myself long before I would have called myself an entrepreneur, long before I would have called myself a shampoo dealer, an SED, a director, a Cadillac owner, a founder, a social media manager who has a social media agency. Long before I would have given myself a title, what would I have identified with? And how can I channel that inner beginner to become a more effective leader? Right? What an oxymoron. Kat, you're telling me I have to go and become a beginner again to become a better leader? And how many of you see a new person get started in something that you're doing, and this new person has the biggest excitement you have ever seen? Like, you're like, why is this person so excited? Like I'm trying to think, like, let's say, I brought my cousin to his first basketball game. I went to my first basketball game a couple of months ago, and people around me are like, you've never been to a basketball game? And I'm over here so excited about the DJ, like playing music, messing up the other team. I'm like, look, the DJ just tried to mess up that guy's shot. I was like, look, the other team's like booing the other team. This is crazy. And it was just my feelings of being at a basketball game for the first time. I was just so excited. And when we see new people doing things that we've been doing for a while, and we see that excitement that they have, we need to go back to that to make sure that we become better leaders, right? And as we're getting started, we're always given so much encouragement to dream really big, right? How many of you have big dreams? Drop a 10 in the chat, right? If you're a big dreamer, drop a 10 in the chat for me. And let me tell you, I love big dreams. I have super, super, super big dreams. And we're always given that encouragement to go ahead and dream bigger. And maybe type, what's that dream that you guys have? Maybe type it in the chat for me. For me, my big dream, right, is to be in the $15 million club and to open up schools in the Philippines, and then to be able to adopt maybe 10 of them. I want a lot of kids, so someone's going to have to stop me. But I have really big dreams, and I want to change the world, and I want to impact the nation. And sometimes I tell people these goals, and they're like, girl, you are nuts, right? And maybe when people tell you to dream big, you get paralyzed. And maybe when we have these big dreams, we tend to get paralyzed in the middle of our big dreams. Drop 100 in the chat if you have been paralyzed by that big dream that you tell yourself you want, and it doesn't happen in the time that you want it to happen to. So now the things that you put, now your work ethic is different because you're feeling paralyzed by this big, huge dream that you have to go change the world and to bring millions of people together. And it can, start to feel a little less likely as each day goes by. Like, oh, that was silly. Did I really think I was going to make $15 million selling shampoo? Like, girl, are you okay? Like, it starts to sound a little crazy when it doesn't start to add up in the time frame that we want it to add up, and adversity starts to show up when we weren't expecting it. And Liz Bohannon, she had a big dream. And she wanted to help millions of girls in extreme poverty. And when she was in college, she was going to school for journalism and she had this big dream. She was on fire. But like I was just saying, time went by and her big dream to go help millions of women in poverty just seemed silly. And she had a come to Jesus moment one day and she thought to herself, like, I want to help millions of women in poverty get out of extreme poverty, but I don't know one girl that has ever grown up in poverty. She's like, no one around me is in the conditions of the dreams that I am running towards. And my community isn't affected by these, goals that I want to go and help and strive for. I don't have friends in this context. How am I going to help someone in this context? And that big dream of helping millions and millions and millions and millions of people come out of poverty, that super huge dream became really, really, really small. Her new microscope dream became, I want to make one friend. I want to make one relationship and create a community, create a friend group, a life that's reflecting the things that I say that I care about. What do you care about? And what do you do every day that's taking you towards the things that you say you care about? Because when we have these big, crazy goals of, I want to help hundreds of women bring out the power within themselves, which is my goal and my dream. And I was standing there like, I want to help hundreds of people. I'm making all these Facebook groups. I'm going to make all these group chats. I'm going to make all this curriculum and help all these people. And then I turned to my left and I'm like, there's one girl sitting next to me that I need to be focusing on, which was Erleene. And in that moment, I'm like, I'm focusing on hundreds of people and there's one girl who cared enough to fly out here and learn leadership with me. And I'm not focusing on this one person. And my big dream of, I want to help millions of women bring the power out of themselves. I'm like, I want to help Erleene bring that power out of herself. What can I do this week, next week, this month to help Erleene step into her power? And here we are today. Hello, we're dreaming small. My small dream is coming true. You're about to hear Erleene speak. But our big dreams, they can paralyze us. And then we forget about that one person we wanted to help. We wanted to get started. We just wanted to help one person. We just wanted to make one relationship. So Liz, let's go back to Liz. Liz has this big dream to go help all these women get out of poverty. She gets on kayak.com after her come to Jesus moment, books a one-way plane ticket to Uganda, tells her family, peace out, moving to Uganda. I don't have a job. I just have a suitcase of clothes, but my tiny dream is to go make one friend in Uganda. I will see you soon. Okay, we're going to fast forward 10 years later. She now has Psycho. This company Psycho, it all started when she went to Uganda, made her one friend. Okay, she made her one friend, and then this one girl knew other women, and now she has this group of young women. They're crazy smart. They can't afford to go to college. Sorry, we're backtracking. We're not 10 years in yet, so sorry. Rewind, Control Alt Delete. Okay, she met her friend. She has a group of young women. They're crazy smart, but they can't afford to go to college. And this is well after she's failed multiple businesses and had her come to Jesus moment. This is like her third business that she's starting up to try to change the world. And she finds this business because she decided to go and find that one friend. This business comes to her mind and she tells these three young women, if you make these sandals for me, over the next 9 months, you will go to college in the fall. Okay, so she shows these girls these sandals that she wants them to make. There are these three girls from Uganda. She tells them, if you make these sandals, I'm going to go sell them in the States. And in the next 9 months, you're going to go to college if you can make these. So she went back to the States. She started selling these sandals out of her car. She doesn't have like a shop. She doesn't have like all this money to go or connections to sell these shoes. She's selling them out of her car and telling people her story and how she needs to send these girls in Uganda to college. And it sounds far-fetched, but that's what she did. So now we're fast forwarding to 10 years later, and Psycho is one of the largest exporters out of Uganda. They have an incredible team, and that one friend that she met That one friend now owns over 80% of that business in Uganda. And that one friend, when she met her, didn't have enough money to go to school. And now she owns one of the biggest clothing companies. You guys should go follow her. She had the whole room crying. I can't give you her speech the way she gave it to us. You have to go to the next one. But that moment, I was like, should I go to the Philippines? And I was like, no, just help the one girl next to me. I almost went and chased after the big dream. I'm like, no, I got to dream small. Erlene's right here. We're good. Maybe Erlene will come with me to the Philippines later, but we're going to help Erlene first so that Erlene can come and help me help more people. But now this is an incredible team with a factory and partners all over the world and a multinational, multi-million-dollar fashion brand. And it all started with one tiny, unimpressive dream that she just took really seriously, to build one friend, to build one relationship, and to pursue that proximity of what she wanted to do, help people get out of poverty. So she had to go be in proximity to poverty, right? If I want to help millions of women, I need to get around some women. I need to get out of my house and I need to talk to women. I need to figure out, what do you want to do with your life? Right? I can't just sit on Zoom all day and just post content. I have to talk to people and I have to figure out what is the power that I need to bring out of them. Who are they? Like, they probably don't even know what their power is. And I have the discernment to help them figure that out. So I need to use my gift to help those people. You guys need to figure out what your gift is so that you can help walk people through their life. Okay? So remember, what is big today? It was once small. Along your journey to finding that one small dream, it's going to catapult into even bigger dreams that, that are going to change the world. And while you guys are going through these dreams, dreaming small, I got into a little too into it, but this is Liz, right? It started off with a really small dream. She had these sandals. She's like, you know what? I'm going to sell these sandals and I'm going to get these girls to college. And that was after her failing multiple other businesses of her trying to help women in Uganda without knowing women in Uganda. So she said, you know what? I need to go make a friend in Uganda and then start the business, right? So it started with her having that one small goal. And, look at her life today off of that one small goal. But on your journey to achieving those small dreams and those even bigger dreams, you're going to come across some failures. And Erleene is going to go ahead and talk about failures, and I'm going to pass it on to her. But, I'm so excited to talk about failures. I could keep talking about this, but I'm going to pass it over to you, Erleene.
Thank you, Kat. It actually teared up when you mentioned that. I had no idea that was what was going through your mind. So thank you so much for that. And I am 100% down to go to the Philippines with you, as you already know. But Liz actually started talking about failures, and she went on stage, and that was one of the first things that she ended up talking about. And because success and failure go hand in hand, right? So failures, wrongdoings, those mess ups, those, things that are going to be messy, that messy action in the beginning, that all is part of your journey to success. And she said that the mistakes in her life rocked her confidence, right? So she says the number one thing to do is to overcome your embarrassment, because if you want success, it's going to come with a multitude of failure, right? And I've had my own multitude of embarrassing moments here. And I feel like the number one thing that helped me overcome that was by talking about it. And when I joined the Monet business, I was going through a transition, right? Something really embarrassing. I had a relationship that appeared to be really beautiful, something that people envied on the outside. People were glorifying it. They were like, oh my gosh, I want a relationship like that. But behind the scenes, it was something that I had no identity. I had lost myself. I was in someone else's shadow. And it was really embarrassing for me to come to terms with that I had a failed relationship and that I felt like I was living a lie, to the point of where I decided to, even when the relationship failed, I was so embarrassed by it that I decided to move away. I let the relationship run me out of basically my home, the only place that I knew that I had lived for so long. And when that happened, I came to a realization when I ended up meeting everyone in Monet and this business found me, and it was, hey, like, you're more than that failed relationship. You know, they were like, you need to get uncomfortable. You need to get uncomfortable fast. And I ended up going out. As soon as I said my story, as soon as I told everyone, as soon as I got real and I got vulnerable, that was when it no longer had a hold on me. That was when it no longer paralyzed me. That was when it no longer, when I laid it to rest, it no longer had any power or control over me. I no longer was living for that failed relationship. It was no longer a failure. It was something that I could overcome and move on to the next challenge and my next part of my life. So I was giving a lot of time, a lot of energy to that before. And as soon as I just released it, laid it to rest, had a funeral for it by coming out, and being vulnerable and real about it, that was when I was able to overcome that embarrassment. So on Pluck Ups, she
And
has
really
a podcast.
the failure funeral too, like she had multiple business before the sandals. Like she had other sandals she tried to make. She had like other things. Every single one that didn't work out, she like dug up a hole, put it in a shoebox, and she had a legit funeral for every business that didn't work. And she has a picture of her like burying all of these like prototypes that didn't work out, because you talk about your failure, you lay it to rest, and then you move on. You don't let that failure tell you you can't keep going. You don't let that failed relationship tell you that you can't love again, right? You keep going. And we're going to talk about the stages of success in a little bit, but I wanted to just add that, because that funeral, I wish I had the selfie of her burying that shoebox, because it was hilarious.
And the funny thing that you say that, she says documented, because if you put everything in a folder and you look back, wow, those were tears, sad tears, those were happy tears, those were, you know, a moment of me thriving, a moment when I wasn't thriving. When you get back, it all matters. It all is compounding to create, to lead you to where you're supposed to be. And the funny thing was that when I said my story, it was on a live with someone else. So I literally had to document it. It's on my page for everyone to see. And that was my first time really sharing my story and getting vulnerable. But now I look back and it's one of my most empowering moments. It's the moment that allowed me to step into freedom. It's the moment that allowed me to step into my power. And it was the moment that I decided to say, I'm not going to live for anyone else or the opinions of anyone else. I'm going to live for me and for my future and for what I need to do for myself in order to find myself, because I know that I have an identity that I need to find, and I have worth and I have value, and I also have people who are embracing me and encouraging me to do so. So yeah, it was definitely a very public funeral for that one. And I suggest if you have any failures, make it public, because once you look back, you're gonna be like, wow, I'm glad that I learned from that. I'm glad I overcame that, and I'm glad that I didn't let that stop me. Sometimes those are the greatest lessons.
So true. And you guys, I have like, in my Monet business, going through the ranks, I have a crying to SCD album. So every single time I've cried, whether it's a happy tear or a sad tear, I've taken a selfie and I have a whole album of me crying my way to SCD. And I want you guys to think of an intention that you have for your business. And when we think of the intentions that we have for our business, mine is to grow. That is always my intention. And when we think of our intention, sometimes we think like to make $1 million and have this big $1 million business. I just went on like 100-foot yacht celebrating Christie's $2 million that she's made in the business. And when we think of the intentions that we have towards our business, it's not about make $1 million and like make all this money. It's what do you want to learn and gain along the way? What is your goal and what do you want to receive along your way to that? Because you don't want your happiness to be contingent to your end result. Your happiness shouldn't be contingent to your end goal. Your intention and your happiness should be connected to your journey and what you want to gain along the way. For me, that's growth. That's why I'm happy no matter what. Like, I don't need to wait till I reach my final success point to be happy. I don't connect my happiness to my end goal and my outcome. I connect my happiness to what I'm gaining along the way, that journey along the way. That way we can always be happy. We don't just have to be happy when we get that end result, right? Because in my opinion, there's never an end result. I'm always like continuing to grow. So there's also 4 stages of learning that will help us overcome these moments. So if you're like, Erleene, Kat, how are we going to get over this? How are we one of my social media, I'll tell you guys later. So how are we going to, overcome these moments of learning how to become a leader and learning how to overcome that failure moment? It's by becoming aware of the different stages of learning. And this isn't something Erleene and I made up. This isn't something that Liz made up. This is real. You can go on YouTube, type in the 4 stages of learning, but there are 4 different stages of learning that everyone goes through when they're learning something new. Erleene, I'll start with the first one and we'll just go back and forth. But the 4 stages of learning, stage 1 is unconscious incompetence. So if you are just getting started in something new, like maybe you're just starting your Monet business, maybe you're starting an eyelash business, maybe you are becoming a barber, right? Drop a 1 in the chat. Maybe you're in your smart start still. If you're just getting started in something new, I just started a social media business. I think I'm like in the middle of stage 1 and stage 2 right now with that. But stage 1, unconscious incompetence. You don't know what you don't know. So you're not aware of what you're doing. You don't really know how to do it. You're just like interested in trying it out. And this is the first step, right? We're kind of like, where do I go? No, let me unmute you.
All right. The second step is conscience incompetence. It's you are aware of how incompetent you are. So you know that you have a lot that you still need to learn. You know that there's going to be a lot that you don't know. So you are aware, you just don't know. You are aware of how much you don't know.
So this is probably, for me, for example, with my social media business that I just started, like, okay, I'm just getting started. This is what I know how to do. And this is what I know I need to go and learn. Maybe you're just starting your Monet business and you're like, okay, I need to go live and I need to talk on my story, but I don't know if I know how to do that yet, right? You're realizing, okay, this is what I know how to do. This is what I don't know how to do. And this is where most people quit. They're like, I have to do that, and that. I don't know how to do that. Peace out. So this is stage 2 is where most people fall off. And if we're aware as leaders that this is going to happen, we aren't going to fall off at stage 2 and we're going to move into stage 3. I'll let you explain it, Erleene, and then I'll just go into detail.
Yeah. So stage 3 is conscious competence. You know what you're doing.
So we're aware.
Finally,
yeah. Go.
So you finally gain some traction. You finally try the thing that's super scary. You realize, wow, it's, it was scary at first, but I actually got through it. I think I can actually do this. It's doable. Let's figure this out. So you're at a point where you don't know everything yet, but you know what you're doing for the most part enough that you actually go and do it.
Right. And this is where we keep practicing, right? So like for me, I know when I was going through the ranks in my Monet business, I first started off like, okay, what is this? What are these group chats? What is this flash sale? Like, why is everyone so excited about junior shampoo? And then stage 2, I was like, okay, I know that this is a flash sale. I know that I have to post it on my story. These girls are going live and I haven't gone live yet. These leaders are doing calls. I don't know how to do that, but I know how to do this. And then I'm going into stage 3 where, okay, I've done a live, I've done a training, I've done a couple, but I'm going to keep practicing because I know how to do it, but I'm not that good at it. Right. And then we go into the last stage of learning.
The last stage is unconscious competence. You can do it in your sleep.
And this is where I am right now with my Monet business. Like if you put me on an onboarding, I don't really need to like go and overview my notes. I can do an onboarding in my sleep. If someone asked me to do a IG live potential call right now, I could do an IG live. If someone wanted me on a 3-way call, I could do it in my sleep, literally. So this gets to that last stage, and this is that golden stage, but this is also a very dangerous stage, because in this stage, this is where, is in my old school notebook paper notes. In this stage, this is where we subconsciously act out of fear of losing our place, of like, oh my gosh, I got all the way here. Can I really do all of this again? And good leaders, right? They're consistently figuring out, how can I dive back into this second stage? So instead of just being like, okay, I can do this in my sleep, I'm unconsciously competent in my business, I'm the shit, bananas, Gwen Stefani, Alexa, play bananas, whatever, holla back girl. No Wi-Fi.
I'm having trouble connecting to the internet.
My Alexa's not connected. But instead of, being,
Only 30 seconds. Once the routing is
why did I do that to myself? I knew that was going to happen. So we go through these stages of learning. And when people get stuck and stagnant in the same place, it's because they stay in stage 4, right? Maybe you're in Monet and you have been at MMB for the last 4 years. I want you to think, how can I put myself back into stage 2? How can I put myself back into a conscious state of incompetence where I'm putting myself in a position of, I know what to do, I just don't know how to do it yet. And then move yourself into step 3. What do you know you need to know? What do you know that you need to learn that you've been too scared to teach yourself? That is stage 2. You know you need to learn it, but you're scared to go and figure it out. Or you know you need to learn that to be successful, so you go and do the things you need to learn it so that you can keep practicing and move into that stage 3. Are you guys following me? Write a 2 in the chat. So I know that you need to consciously be inserting yourself into stage 2 over and over and over and over again to sharpen your leadership, right? So let's say your main goal is, I need to learn how to do IG lives. And now you've been doing IG lives for the last 3 weeks and you can do them in your sleep. What can you go learn in stage 2 now? Maybe you need to learn 3-way calls. Maybe you need to learn how to post reels consistently. Maybe you need to learn how to do an onboarding or a VIP training. How can you put yourself into stage 2 so that you can become new, learn something new in stage 3 and 4? All right. So I'm excited for Personal Growth Week. Erleene and I will be doing these calls every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. But I want to give you guys, if no one has given it to you yet, I want to give you a permission slip to dream small. Maybe your small dream right now is to just host your first event at your house with 5 people. Host your first happy hour with 4 people. Host your first Instagram live series with 4 friends. Whatever that small dream is, I give you permission to jump on a trampoline up and down like that small dream is about to make you $1 million, because that small dream is going to be what catapults you into making that $1 million dream come true. Go ahead, Erleene.
I just wanted to piggyback on what you just said earlier. A lot of us want to get to expert level. We want to reach, the top. I want to know what I'm doing. But the actuality is, expert level is synonymous with you being less curious, you being less creative, and you being less productive. So right now, the place to be is at the beginning stages, because you're actually in the perfect position to grow and be more productive than you would if you were to be at the expert level.
So good. And I feel like you had something else that we were talking about at the meeting before the meeting. I was like, that is good. Should we just say that? And I totally forgot it. But you guys, this is your permission slip. Look, my notes, I think I'm being slick, and I was talking to you guys like this. Embarrassing. But this is your permission slip to take that small dream seriously, right? Because chasing after that small dream, it's going to make you catapult into creating instead of waiting. When you chase after those small dreams, you're going to start creating instead of waiting for those dreams to, be taken seriously. So go and take that small dream and drop. What is your small dream? Drop it in the chat. My small dream is to get this girl that you hear speaking to Miami leadership experience. That is all I need from God, and all of you know. But my small dream is to get Erleene to Miami. Okay, so what is your small dream? Who's that one person that you guys are going to help? What is that small dream that will catapult yourself into creating instead of waiting? Because big excuses will come with big dreams. So we need to make sure that we're also focusing on that small goal, that small dream that doesn't paralyze us into not having those big dreams come true. Host an in-person event. You guys, you want to know my big dream with what I have going on here? I want a Girls Who Grow conference with like 5,000 people attending, but it starts with my small dream of my 3-day Zoom series with you guys, but we'll see. Right now, that just seems very scary. So we're gonna start with getting Erleene to Miami and finishing these this week of training. But join us every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, you guys. John Maxwell's Personal Growth Days on August 14th. Message Erleene and I for tickets. This is something that you do not want to miss. Like what we're giving to you guys here, if you think this is valuable, like imagine being in the room with the person that actually said the things that we're sharing with you, because we're only giving you like 1% of what we received that day. Like it was just so moving. Like I've never felt that like catapulted. Like it felt like she put me in a slingshot and let go, and I was like, holy cow. Like I really I encourage you guys, whatever dream you have, I want you to picture yourself jumping off of a mountain and letting your wings grow on the way down. Don't worry about having the wings while you're up there, because if you take action towards that small dream that you have, your resources are going to come to you. Right? Once you take the action, the resources will come your way. Don't worry about not having the things that you need. Worry about if you're taking the action steps or not. Because every step you take that takes you closer to that dream that you keep talking about, your resources will come to you. Your resources will come your way. And that's actually going to be our training for Wednesday. If you guys have ever written a bucket list, bring it on Wednesday. That's what we're going to be talking about. But I'm so grateful for you guys.